Hello there, and welcome to Find Your Voice. My name is Joe Crammond. I'm the host of the show. And today we've got a very special guest, Liz Scully. She's a business strategist, keynote speaker, an evil coach, mastermind coach, founder of the International Mastermind Certificate Program. Welcome, Liz. How are you today?
I am delightful and thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Yeah, so just elaborate a little bit. Evil coach, or is that I was a bit like, oh, you don't seem evil to me, but I'm curious to know what that's all about. But yeah, just let us know, our audience know a bit more about you, and we'll get going.
Sure. So, excuse me. So, I'm a business strategist. I help entrepreneurs, particularly with service businesses, grow their business. And I do that in my own work through masterminds. So, I'm also something of a mastermind evangelist, small groups that really help people grow. The strategy part of my world is evil coach, hence why I am the evil coach.
Great. So what makes you what was that, just a catchy name? Because how was
No,
that?
well, you see, it's based on most strategy is extremely boring, as we know. It is taught as though it is the most dull thing in the world. And it's actually fascinating. And it's something that every business grows. It's not an extra, it's not an add-on. It's something we should all have. So I considered ways to view strategy in a more interesting way. And the lens that Evil Coach looks at strategy through is through BDSM, kink, sex. That is deeply misunderstood, as is strategy. So it's not salacious in any way, but if you understand one thing better, you understand the other much better. And I have to say, people really pay attention when you talk about it in that lens.
Yeah, you got my attention.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, you look slightly shocked.
No, it's great. It's cool. It's interesting. Yeah. So, well, we'll get started, and then we can yeah, find out a bit more about that. That's perfect. So, just for our audience, to let them make them aware of what we're doing. So, it's like a quick fire question with Liz,
Sure.
sort of round. So, we'll go through some various questions and get to know a little bit more about you. And when you're ready, Liz, we'll get started.
Sure, fire at me.
Perfect. Okay. So, if you had a business card, Liz, what would it say? How would you summarize
Evil
yourself?
coach. It would
Evil
definitely say
coach.
evil coach.
Okay, wonderful. And just to go back on what you were saying about the PDSM side of things, so elaborate a little bit more on how that would, in what respect does that sort of fit
Well,
in line?
as I said, strategy is vital to businesses, and it has to be part
Mm,
of that. And in the BDSM world, we have a lot of people who get overexcited. They want to do all of the things all at the same time, but
mm,
not all of them suit each person. And just because, say in strategy, just because you want to do podcasts doesn't mean it's a good strategy for your business. And likewise, in BDSM, if you calm down and you consider where you want to get to, the results you want to get to, how you want to be guided to that, that's what a strategist can do for you. There's a lot more to it, but essentially, BDSM is it's so not what people think it is. It's not all
mm.
cat suits and people dressed up in Netflix has lied to us. It's that simple. And it's kind of the same about strategy. Netflix has said
Right.
not a word about it, but it isn't what people think.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, why on paper should you have never been successful? Would you say?
Oh, good question. Well, I'm actually trained. My first degree is in silversmithing. So
Okay.
I'm trained to hit things with hammers. And that doesn't necessarily seem like the most obvious step from silversmithing. I spent 20 years in film, to parlaying the silversmithing into lighting, and from lighting into strategy. It's not the most obvious of leaps, but all of them involve thinking big, dealing with very complex people who have big ideas and really want to get there. Film directors are some of the most demanding and fabulous humans on the planet, as are entrepreneurs. They've got a lot to do, they've got a lot going on. How do you calm down and get to that result? And my arts training will help me through all of that.
Oh, wonderful. Really interesting stuff. So, if we asked 10 of your old schoolmates about you, then how would they have described you? How
I
would they
suspect they
describe
wouldn't they wouldn't have any idea who I was. I was super quiet at school.
you? Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not in touch with many of them. A couple of them, they'd obviously remember me. But I think most of them would consider, yeah, what was the name again? Who was that? Yeah, things have changed. Things have changed, my
Mm.
friend.
So what was the pivoting moment? What was that point of when you changed from the quiet, sort of reserved lady in school?
I think I went to art school and realized, oh, right, I'd been in the wrong room all of this time. When you're surrounded by people who understand you, suddenly
Mm.
everything becomes easier.
You're a creative, yeah, creative
Oh, very
mind.
much so.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I can sort of relate to that. Yeah, 100%. My ability was always about communication and sort of telling jokes, and I was always getting bored at school and didn't listen enough, but talked too much. So maybe I'm in the right role now. I don't know. Maybe I found my calling. So if you were writing a script about a movie, going back to the sort of film side of things, how would you describe the opening scene?
I think it would have to be the origin story of Evil Coach. So it would start in a wet, dark, foreign-looking place, and then transition slowly across one of those major megapolis type street scenes. That, in fact, actually, they are exactly the sort of buildings and cities I used to create when I ran VFX teams. So I can actually picture it really well, and I could probably build it for you, should you so desire.
Wow. It's like dystopian city sort of
Yeah,
setting.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what about yours? Do tell.
Oh, well, I mean, I was a very quiet, shy country boy, and I've competed in bodybuilding shows and stuff like that. But I was very insecure and shy when I was younger, and I got a job in a gym, and that sort of brought me out of my shell really, and just travelled around. And as I grew, my confidence grew, and communication skills grew,
Really?
and working in different gyms and things. Yeah, it kind of, and then getting into sales and marketing, leading on to what I do now. So the sort of bodybuilding past is behind me, but I guess the opening scene would be kind of like, I don't know, interesting. I've not been asked the question. I'm the one asking
There
it.
you
I've not
go.
been asked
See?
it. But, yeah, but I think just going from that quiet, shy type into sort of slowly transitioning from skinny to small, I guess, because I was quite a skinny kid. So kind of, maybe that was
So you
it.
bulked up and your confidence grew together.
Yeah, just working in a gym, just growing in, just
Interesting.
building muscle and kind of like being in that right environment as well of motivation and everyone there for the same reason, health and fitness and following a structure, which quite enjoy the routine of that sort of thing. So yeah, but going on to the next one, I mean, looking at what would you say was the last time you did something that scared you?
Um, I do a lot of live presentations. I do a lot of
Okay.
speaking. But about 5 years ago, I got an ear infection that meant somehow it's a tedious reason, but I went blind for about 2.5 years. Not completely blind, just mostly blind. So I could see things, but nothing was in focus.
Mm.
And I had to do quite a lot of speaking during that phase. Excuse me. And that was pretty scary because they would issue me with somebody from the auditorium to walk me onto the stage. But I tell you, once I was up there, the first time I did it, it was terrifying. So I'm like, I can't see a thing. But any nerves completely disappeared because all I could
Mm.
see was a blur of the audience. I could hear them laughing, but I couldn't see them. And suddenly all of that disappeared. And when I got off at the end of my presentation, I asked someone, what could I do that would, have improved that? And he said, you could have moved around a bit more. And I'm like, no, I couldn't. I had no idea where the edge of the stage was. Nothing. So yeah, for me, that's what scared me.
Oh, interesting. It's interesting actually to say that your eyesight side of things, yeah, it actually calmed you down a bit because you couldn't see people's faces and reactions and stuff like that. So yeah, interesting stuff. So when it comes to advice, then, what do people seek you out for?
Masterminds. They asked me about masterminds, how to grow their business, and also kind of how to get over themselves. As you know, you've worked in sales. There's an awful lot of head trash people have about I
Mm,
can't do it because of I'm not the right. Who's going to buy from me? So in a very nice, very gentle way, I kind of beat them around the head till they go, all right, then I'll just do some. Because if you're running a business and you're not doing sales, but you haven't got a business, you've got a hobby, really.
true. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people avoid sales. They find that that's the word, isn't it? It puts them off that I don't want to be salesy. I'm like, well,
Exactly.
we're consumers. That's what our lives are about, is consuming content, information from the news or whatever's going on. It's that's part of who we are as humans, is consuming,
Exactly.
in general. So why not learn how to do that? So yeah, definitely. So when it comes to technology, then, what's kind of making you nervous at the moment? Is anything making you nervous with tech?
Well, I know a lot of people are very worried about AI. I'm not. Well,
Mm,
for several reasons. First of all, it's not actually AI. It's a beautiful and complex thing, but it is not AI, and it's not going to worry us as business people because if you can tell a story and be charming, which obviously we can, then
mm,
it's not going to be a problem. So at the moment, I know the big bugbears are AI and what's going to happen in the market, but both of those things aren't making me nervous right now because if you have confidence, and particularly in a down market, you can actually have some of the biggest growth because people are slower to buy, but they will take, once they've made that decision, they will definitely take the plunge. So what I spend my time calming my clients about is don't be nervous, get on with it. So I'm not actually that nervous about very much.
No, that's good. No, I can tell. Yeah, very, very confident. It's good. It's nice to see. Well, when you say it's not AI, what do you mean? Because
Well,
obviously
as I said, I worked in VFX, so I spent a lot of time coding. Well, I sat with coders. I was the pretty end of the market. They were the numbers end of the market. But real AI, as in an intelligence that is like of the Skynet Terminator type variety, it's not that. It's a very complex and nice system of making decisions. It's a yes, no, if not, then this. So
Mm.
real AI involves real intelligence, and this is a massive step forwards, but it is by no means actual intelligence. I know that's a
No, it's
very
a kind
geeky
of
answer, but
no, I kind of get it. So yeah, chat GPT, for example. So what's your take on that?
I
Is
think
that gathering information and
yeah, I
making
think
it?
it's marvelous in that obviously once you manage to log in, which is it's been swamped
Yeah.
recently, but once you log in, you can get bland information really quickly because you can get a beautiful mashup of whatever's out there. But you
Mm.
can't get anything original, obviously, because its very
Mm.
nature is it's not original. So if you want 10 quick questions to ask your clients or a really quick cludge together blog post, that's what you're going to get. It'll look fine, but it is never going to be exceptional by its very nature.
Mm. Mm. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, for a $10,000 bet, then what would you say you can do better than Chat GTP?
I can tell a story way better than GPT. I can't say it,
GPT. I,
but
I
God
always say it the
knows.
wrong way around as well. Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's the bringing that human element to conversation, isn't
Absolutely.
it? It's definitely no, 100%. So what weaknesses are you working on right now to improve? Would you say?
It's a good question. So actually, health-wise, I just want to improve my health. I'm terribly tired, and I'm working on improving my sleep. Sleep hygiene is something that I follow with my clients quite carefully because if you're not sleeping properly, you're not going to perform in the best way, you know, from your health background.
Mm.
It's very difficult to do absolutely the best thing for your health and at the same time have a life. So I'm sort of
I agree.
trying to balance those two.
I'm at that point. Yeah, I'm to be honest with you, that's exactly my weakness as well. I drink too much coffee. I'm trying to stay awake, not really balancing my work life stuff as much as I should. But you know, I'm one of these people. I might be the same as you. I put all 100% into something I'm doing. So like when I used to compete in bodybuilding, that was my life. Sacrificed my career slightly as well, and relationships and things like that. That's another story. But for me now, kind of like I'm trying to find a bit more balance. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm on the same page with you on that one, definitely. Okay, so when was the last time you had to leave something behind, and what was it and why?
Well, I was no, as I mentioned before we started the call, I'm nomadic, and for a decade before the pandemic, I didn't have a specific home. I moved every 3 to 6 months. I've lived all over the world. I grew up in Pakistan and in Nigeria. Thanks to the film industry, I lived lots of places. And when the pandemic started, I was just coming back from Malta, stayed here in London with my sister for a couple of weeks in I thought, and I was going on to New York and Guatemala and then on to Colombia just to see friends and to do work. As soon as the pandemic happened, like everyone else,
Mm.
I was just in one place. So I've continued that for the last 3 years. So my friends have started saying, "So you're not a nomad?" I'm like, "Ho, I might be in one place, but I am still a nomad, my friends." But yes, I think I don't think I've left it behind, but I sort of put it down for the moment,
Yeah.
and it is very hard.
Are you trying to find roots where you are, or you think, you know what, I'm going to be probably going in the next
Well,
6 months?
when I worked in film, I worked in London a great deal. I used to have an apartment here. Yeah, it's difficult to know where to live, to be honest, because
Mm.
genuinely, when you can live absolutely anywhere, visas required. But apart from that, I can live pretty much everywhere. And although I have an English accent, I'm actually Irish, which means I can live anywhere in Europe. Where do you live? What
Mm.
decisions? You know, what criteria do you use?
Well, this is it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much choice, isn't there? It's like, well, do you want
Exactly.
the quiet life? I mean, I live in the southwest. You know, might be tell by my accent, but you know, I grew up in a very small village. I quite like the southwest part of the UK, but there's also a lot more of I've lived up in the Midlands as well. I lived in Stratford upon Avon for a while. I quite enjoyed it up there. Yeah, but I'm looking to potentially move abroad eventually as well and start doing a bit more traveling, because I was in Mexico for a few months before as well. So trying the nomad lifestyle for myself. But the only thing I found, I don't know about yourself, is I got distracted with just going out, and everything's so cheap. So you kind of out doing stuff, and I wasn't as focused on work as what I would be maybe just in the UK.
That changes over time. So the
Right.
first year, you probably are a bit kind of, oh, I could go, and after a while, you choose a few places that effectively. I lived in four countries, 4 cities,
Right.
and that made it a lot easier. There was the apartment I always rented in Guatemala, for instance, and the place I mostly lived in Budapest, and that helped. But yeah, it can be difficult. And also there are those nomad trips where you can go away with a group of buddies and do all sorts of fun. And I've never worked out when people do their work in that at all. It all just seems to be fun 24 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you've got a business that's run a lot on automation and you don't have to necessarily be involved in the operational side as much, then it's fine. But unfortunately, it takes a while to build, and if something goes wrong within that kind of world, then you have to then be there to fix it and be focused and stuff. And putting out client fires as well is difficult when you're abroad. But
it's true. Although just from that point, I'm a coach. As long as I live in the little Zoom window, my clients don't actually care where I am in the world at all.
This is it. Yeah, you've got this big benefit to what you do. So your 20-year-old self is watching the show now. What would you advise them?
Look after your knees. As Kurt Vonnegut said, you will miss them when they're gone.
Right. Fair enough. Okay. So is that just from just life in general?
Generally, well, yeah, I have, I'm hypermobile, and my knees, my joints, I wish they were as good as they used to be, frankly.
Fair enough. Okay. So who else would you love to be on this show? Would you think would be a good guest?
Oh, putting me on the spot now. I can certainly recommend. I apologize. I can certainly recommend some people offline, so to speak. I don't want to put anyone in the
fair enough.
hot seat.
Fair enough. Well, Liz, it's been wonderful chatting to you. We're going to wrap things up. It's been great. You've given some great insights there, and it's been thoroughly entertaining, to be honest, as well. So I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. So the final question would be, what 3 words would you want written on your avatar, so to be remembered by?
Oh, gosh, you could have given me some warning for that one. I genuinely don't know. Most beloved, I guess. Not as funny as she thought she was. That's too many words. I have no idea. What would you put?
Yeah. Oh, you always put me on the spot as well. I don't know. Again, this is another question I've not really got. Disciplined, honest, and kind. I hope. I guess.
There you go. I mean, it's kind of
basic stuff, but it's but no, it's well, like I say, Liz, we've got to move on. But yeah, it's been wonderful. I really appreciate the chat, and just to let everyone know as well, if you want to build out your own thought leadership journey and be part of the podcast Thought Leadership Adventure, then join us at podcastguesting.pro, and hopefully we'll have a conversation. And our guest Liz, the evil coach, has been wonderful today, and thank you very much to everyone who's been listening. And Liz, where do we find out more about you? If you give us your site.
evilcoach.com.
Evilcoach.com. That's nice to remember. That's a good one. Okay, wonderful. Perfect. Well, goodbye everybody, and thanks Liz, and you take care of yourselves, and really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Take care.